Debt review can be your savior or your downfall. But what determines this? Is it the consumer behavior? Is it the process? Or is it the debt counselor at your side? Today I speak to Sebastien Alexanderson, CEO of National Debt Advisors. Sebastien, let's get right to it. Debt review sometimes receives a very bad rap. Why, and is it justified?
Well, hello everybody, and thank you, Moeshfieka. So debt review is a very good process. It's there if you're struggling with your debts, and you're absolutely right. You know, the first 6 months of debt review is the most crucial, and it's also the time where most customers fall off of the debt review program, and it's also where debt review gets a bad name. So the first 6 months, you need to work with your debt counselor hand in hand, making sure that you're updating all the correspondence that you're getting from your creditor, making sure that you're working with your debt counselor to be able to get acceptances on all your restructuring of your proposals, and making sure that you're comfortable with the process.
Sebastien, it does seem like there needs to be quite a bit of communication between the consumer and their debt counselor. Do you think that with a lack of communication, that is sometimes where the problems occur?
I think in any relationship, communication is the key to success. And this is just as important in debt review as it is in anything in life. In the first 6 months, you're going through tremendous change. You are handing over your financial life to a debt counselor. And that debt counselor can only do so much and with what he or she knows. So the minute you enter debt counseling, you probably already have creditors that are calling you. Once the debt counselor starts engaging with the creditors know they've got a limited amount of time to try and get you to convince you to get off of debt counseling. And that's where the trouble starts. And you need to be able to communicate confidently with your debt counselor to say, hey, these guys are calling me, and your debt counselor needs to be able to assure you that actually that this is just part of a process in terms of getting you onto the right path to financial freedom.
I remember after my divorce, I felt like the walls of life were just closing in around me. I was in so much debt. I had creditors calling me all the time. I was taking from Peter to pay Paul. It was a mess. And I remember seeing an ad one day for debt counseling, and that ad literally changed my life for the better. Taking me back to my lowest point 12 years ago, how would you at that point have described debt counseling to me? Whether it's me at my lowest point or another consumer, how would you describe the benefits of this process?
So the fundamentals of debt counseling, and we call it debt counseling here, or maybe debt review or debt management, the fundamentals to managing your finances is about making a decision to be able to manage those finances when you've had something occur in your life that has changed the fundamentals and has forced you to no longer be able to continue the way you were before. So at that point in your life, if you had a change in circumstance, or if you're going through a change in circumstance now, and your financial well-being has been affected, then debt counseling is there for that very reason. Debt counseling is there for when something happens, something changes, and you can no longer afford your finances, that debt counseling can step in, renegotiate, and give you peace of mind.
When we say give you peace of mind, what does that mean?
It means that you know that if you've got a home and you've got a car, or you've got debts and you're afraid that the sheriff is going to show up and try to take away any of your furniture, then debt counseling is there to give you that very protection so that you can go to sleep at night knowing as long as you keep up with your debt review payments that everything will be okay.
Contrary to popular belief, debt counseling and the process of debt review is not a fly-by-night hole-in-the-wall industry. Sebastien, debt counseling and debt counselors are actually regulated by the national credit regulator of the country. What does that mean for consumers?
It means that in order to become a debt counselor, you've got certain responsibilities. It also means that you have to be able to take a course, you have to be able to work with debt counselors to be able to gain experience, but most importantly, it means that if something goes wrong, that there's somewhere that you can go to in order to be able to rectify the situation and hold the debt counselor responsible for the actions that they've taken to put you in financial good standing.
So there is recourse. If somebody comes across a bad debt counseling practitioner who doesn't give them the service that they should be getting, who doesn't follow the processes that they should be following, the consumer actually has recourse through the National Credit Regulator.
Correct. The debt counseling process is outlined in the National National Credit Act. And as debt counselors, we've got to follow the guidelines that are set up by the regulator and understand and interpret the way that we can help customers through the National Credit Act to the best of our well-being.
To my understanding, debt counseling works very much the way that every other industry works. You get good debt counselors and you get bad debt counselors, just like you would get a good plumber and a bad plumber, a good lawyer and a bad lawyer. So why is the overall perception that the debt counseling process and the debt counseling industry doesn't work?
It's a very good question. Listen, debt counseling is a product and a service that's available everywhere in the world. So any country that has a banking system also has a debt counseling system. They also have debt collectors. They've also got processed. Debt counseling was brought to South Africa, was started here in 2008. The rest of the world had already been working with this process for many, many years. So quite naturally, when you begin a process and you try to take the best parts of the process from all around the world in order to be able to help South Africans, there's a certain amount of learning that needs to happen. The software needs to be developed. People need apprenticeships. If there was no apprenticeships to have, they would have to learn the hard way. So in the past, I believe that there was a number of debt counselors that started debt counseling with the best of intentions. But due to system restraints or due to a lack of apprenticeship or a lack of experienced debt counselors being able to guide them through the process, or maybe the industry changes. You know, the way that we interact with the industry will change. And over time, there are certain things in the debt counseling process that we are working to rectify. Like being able to come out of debt counseling early, for example. But in this particular circumstance, we are a little bit plagued by the circumstances of our past. The debt counselors who were trying their best but may not have been able to get there, and we're still cleaning up that mess.
Okay, now bearing in mind that Sebastian's answer might be just a little bit biased, I have to ask, Sebastien, in your heart of hearts, do you believe in the process of debt review?
This is a very personal question for me, and you're right, I am absolutely biased because I've been doing this for 18 years and I've worked in 3 countries doing the same process. And there's one thing that remains true. People all around the world are the same when it comes to buying signals, when it comes to wanting things, when it comes to wanting to grow. And people all around the world, when they reach, have things that happen to them. They get divorced, they lose partners, maybe they borrow too much. But there's one thing that remains true. The debt counseling process here in South Africa is the best in the world. It is the only debt counseling services in the world which allows you to become debt-free in 5 years or less without a type of sequestration, liquidation, or bankruptcy attached to it. It is one of the best systems. It is one of the best processes. And if you find the right debt counselor who's going to be able to take care of your needs and has the right team behind them, then I believe in the process 100%.
I believe in the process too. I don't think that debt counseling is the solution for everyone, but it is a viable debt relief option if you are over indebted. Thanks, Sebastien.
Thanks, Moeshfieka.